my amazing agent, Peter, will send you what you've won. So Emily Last, well done. Superb. And I'll get back to Saki. And yes, so they're weird stories, but they're very readable. And I'm going to read you one. And it's one of his most famous, deservedly so, because it's an absolute classic. And I'm not going to say anything about it, except to tell you that his parents, I think, were in Burma, and he was brought up from the age of 2, I think, by 2 aunts. And I don't think he liked them. I think he had a pretty unpleasant childhood, as you'll probably gather from this. I think some of this story is autobiographical, but not all of it. I'm going to put my reading glasses on because otherwise it's going to go fuzzy. Anyway, this is going to take about 10 minutes. I just thought it might be quite a nice thing to hunker down, listen to a story. So it's called Sredni Vashtar. Conradin was 10 years old, and the doctor had pronounced his professional opinion that the boy could not live another 5 years. The doctor was silky and effete and counted for little. But his opinion was endorsed by Mrs. de Ropp, who counted for nearly everything. Mrs. de Ropp was Conradin's cousin and guardian, and in his eyes, she represented those 3/5 of the world that are necessary and disagreeable and real. The other 2/5, in perpetual antagonism to the foregoing, were summed up in himself and his imagination. One of these days, Conradin supposed he would succumb to the mastering pressure of wearisome necessary things, such as illnesses and coddling restrictions and drawn-out dullness. Without his imagination, which was rampant under the spur of loneliness, he would have succumbed long ago. Mrs. de Ropp would never, in her honestest moments, have confessed to herself that she disliked Conradin, though she might have been dimly aware that thwarting him for his good was a duty which she did not find particularly irksome. Conradin hated her with a desperate sincerity which he was perfectly able to mask. Such few pleasures as he could contrive for himself gained an added relish from the likelihood that they would be displeasing to his guardian, and from the realm of his imagination she was locked out, an unclean thing which should find no entrance. In the dull, cheerless garden overlooked by so many windows that were ready to open with a message not to do this or that, or a reminder that medicines were due, he found little attraction. The few fruit trees that it contained were set jealously apart from his plucking, as the rare specimens of their kind blooming in an arid waste. It would probably have been difficult to find a market gardener who would have offered 10 shillings for their entire yearly produce. In a forgotten corner, however, almost hidden behind a dismal shrubbery, was a disused tool shed of respectable proportions, and within its walls Conradin found a haven, something that took on the varying aspects of a playroom and a cathedral. He had peopled it with a legion of familiar phantoms, evoked partly from fragments of history and partly from his own brain. But it also boasted 2 inmates of flesh and blood. In one corner lived a ragged, plumaged Houdan hen on which the boy lavished an affection that had scarcely another outlet. Further back in the gloom stood a large hutch, divided into 2 compartments, one of which was fronted with close iron bars. This was the abode of a large polecat ferret, which a friendly butcher boy had once smuggled, cage and all, into its present quarters, in exchange for a long-secreted hoard of small silver. Conradin was dreadfully afraid of the lithe, sharp-fanged beast, but it was his most treasured possession. Its very presence in the tool shed was a secret and fearful joy, to be kept scrupulously from the knowledge of the woman, as he privately dubbed his cousin. And one day, out of heaven-known material, he spun the beast a wonderful name, and from that moment it grew into a god and a religion. The woman indulged in religion once a week at a church nearby and took Conrad in with her, but to him the church service was an alien rite. Every Thursday, in the dim and musty silence of the tool shed, he worshipped with mystic and elaborate ceremonial before the wooden hutch where dwelt Sredni Vashtar, the great ferret. Red flowers in their season and scarlet berries in the wintertime were offered at his shrine, for he was a god who laid some special stress on the fierce, impatient side of things, as opposed to the woman's religion, which, as far as Conradin could observe, went to great lengths in the contrary direction. And on great festivals, powdered nutmeg was strewn in front of his hutch, an important feature of the offering being that the nutmeg had to be stolen. These festivals were irregular occurrence and were chiefly appointed to Hello and welcome. I'm Michelle Paver and I want to wish you all a happy and healthy 2019. We're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitch. Find the links on my website, michellepaver.com/chat. Oh yes, and also if you want to, you can also send a live message right now on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube or Twitch. And one of the magic elves will flash it up on the screen. And here's how you do it.
Live chat is live right now. On Twitter, use the hashtag #MichellePaver and we'll automatically pick it up and post it on screen. On Facebook, simply post your message as a comment in the live video and we'll pick it up. No need for a hashtag. On YouTube, post your message in the live chat box and we'll automatically pick it up and show it on screen. No need for a hashtag. On Twitch TV, post your message in the chat room and we'll automatically pick it up and show it on screen. No need for a hashtag. And that's how you chat live to Michelle.
Well, thank you, Magic Elf, for that. And I'm sorry if any of you were beginning to listen to me reading that story just before I came on air tonight. You can always pick up with Sredni Vashtar afterwards on my previous program. But tonight, what am I going to be doing? Well, first of all, we'll have a quick roundup of social media, and then I'll recommend a couple of books that you might like, and then we'll have my favourite bit, which is answering your questions. We've had some really good questions and comments coming in over Christmas. So let's move on to social media, first of all. And yes, Waterstones in Norwich have been very quick off the mark because I'm booked to go and talk on Friday the 5th of April. And they're just talking about Wakenhurst, of course, a tale of mystery and imagination laced with terror. Beautifully put, Waterstones of Norwich, if I may say so. What else have we got? Speaking of Wakenhurst, yes, the wonderful people at Head of Zeus gave a lovely lunch on Wednesday at a posh restaurant, and I had to give a speech. There's me giving a speech. Not my favourite thing, but the lunch was great. And it was really good fun. So that was great, and all those glasses did get filled, I can tell you. Now on Instagram, we've had some marvellous art, that's just such a gorgeous piece of art from, I think it's Kersey Art. This is really the heart of the Wolf Brother books, the relationship between Torak and Wolf, and it's so beautifully encapsulated there. Thank you for that one. Oh yes, and if you're going to post something on Instagram or you're looking for Wolf Brother pictures, do use the hashtags Chronicles of Ancient Darkness or Grow the Fandom Like the First Tree or just my name. and that'll help us all find the pictures. One of Ren's fans has been talking about a Ren aesthetic, which I think is rather a good way of putting it, actually. Particular style and approach, that's definitely Ren. Tufts and Fluffs have also produced some gorgeous pencil drawing of Torak and a very young wolf. Someone with the great name of Blooding Eyes has produced Torak and Ren, gorgeous. And then on Instagram, we also have some lovely photos of people take photos of their books. And there's the omnibus edition with something called a moon lamp, which I think is really lovely, actually, from Shock Katie. I think Ren would like a moon lamp, wouldn't she? She really enjoys the moon. Also from Blooding Eyes, something that Blooding Eyes herself didn't like, but I love that picture. I think it really creates the atmosphere of the forest. You've captured that really well. And then someone called Of Wolf and Man book has done a new Wolf Brother with a slightly benign looking demon bear, but actually a very, very striking one. I'll be showing you a Portuguese cover of Wolf Brother, which also has a bear, slightly different bear later on. Oh, and of course we need a wolf, a fan tattoo, which is this one here, from Zofronia. Interesting one, yes, understated but effective. Obviously, please don't do tattoos unless you're of age and you're doing it healthily and in a licensed dollar. Oh, and on Instagram, there's a lovely picture from Katia from Hamaro in, about dark matter. Dark matter is guaranteed to make you feel cold corpses. Oh, I love that. I love that, Katia. Very nice. Oh, and on Twitter, if you're north of the border, I'm going to be talking in Edinburgh at Blackwell's on the 28th of March. That's right. So do come along because it should be quite fun, I think. And a lovely tweet from Lulu talking about Wakenhurst. Yes, I think I deprived you of some sleep. And I'm not sorry, Lulu. That's actually, it was a very hard book to write. So I'm very glad if I deprived you of sleep. That was the aim. So that's it for the moment on social media. I tweet most days and I also post to Facebook and Instagram. So do follow me there. Sorry about the rustling pages, but that's, I have these things printed out. Now, a couple of recommendations. This is a book, The Giant Under the Snow. This is for younger children, younger readers, but it's actually a great read for an older person as well. I think it's still in print. This is my ancient copy, which I bought with my own money in 1968. It's a fabulous book, The Giant Under the Snow by John Gordon. It's set in the Fenlands, and it's a frightening story. It's very exciting about three slightly older school children. They're in their teens, and the girl there's John Gordon. The girl finds something in the sort of Badlands on a school trip that awakens ancient forces, and it's just so good. I read it every Christmas. It's set at Christmas time, and I read it just before Christmas, and the writing is somebody once said, Alan Garner said, John Gordon uses adrenaline for ink. And it's true. So do see if you can get hold of a copy. The other book is for grown-ups. So, it's really not for younger readers, but it's by a Japanese author called Haruki Murakami. Some of you may know him. I'm a bit of a fan. And it's my favorite one of his. It's called Kafka on the Shore. Very difficult to describe what it's about. I don't really have a clue what its themes are because they're slightly surreal stories. This one is no exception. It's very compelling. People often say his writing is addictive. Once you get into it, you really do want to know what's going to happen next. And for an English reader, I think there's something very Japanese about it, which I find very interesting, fascinating. And some of his descriptive writing about the forest is marvelous, perhaps. That's why I particularly like that book. So that's my recommendations. I hope you enjoy them. And now it's Ask Michelle Anything, something a little bit different. And I think what I've sorted the questions. First of all, I'll be looking at the sort of questions about my adult books, and then I'll move on to Chronicles. We've got a question, first of all, from Sandy, which is nice. Big fan of your books. Thank you very much. Enjoyed listening to Thin Air and Dark Matter. Will Wakenhurst be available as an audiobook? Absolutely, and hot off the press. Don't worry. There is going to be an audiobook, and we've been trying to find the right reader for it. It's very important. And just before we came on air, I had a chat with my wonderful publisher, and we think we found the right person, and we think that she's going to be available. So that's perfect. Let's just hope that comes about. But yes, there will definitely be an audiobook. And I'm hoping to be in the studio for some of it as well. Then we have one from John McFarland. He's very polite. He's another writer. He calls himself very modestly a minor horror writer, but with a beautiful turn of phrase. Apart from anything else, you enjoyed Dark Matter. But I love what you say, John, about I love understatement and shuddering chills that feed on themselves in your mind as time passes. Well, so do I, John. That's exactly my aim. And then you mentioned some writers you've enjoyed, LeFanu, Oliver Onions. I agree. Shirley Jackson. And thank you for taking my book to friends and online. I'm very grateful to you. And you've written your own story, and you've given us. There we are. There's the cover. The Dark Walk Forward. Nice title. Good cover. I hope you're pleased with the cover. So yeah, good luck with that, and congratulations. And I hope it does well. Thanks for getting in touch. Now we have one from Hetty, who's just asking a very straightforward question. Will I be at the Hay on Wye Festival in May? Well, I hope so, Hetty, but we're waiting to hear from Hay, because obviously there are lots and lots of authors. I've been to Hay many times before. I hope they invite me again, but that's obviously up to the organisers, and we're hoping to hear from them. We'll put something on the website if I'm going. From Krista now. This is a slightly sort of family related one. This is to do with, this is in Kruger National Park. My aunt and uncle passed away a few years ago, and they left their estate to, I think, Kruger National Park. Anyway, I didn't know this, Krista, that a cottage had been built or bought with that money, and I didn't know that you had a copy of my mother's book, War Child, which she wrote about, her wartime experiences. You'd like some background information. There we are. There's the copy of the book. That's my mum when she was about 12, looking very, very demure. And that's her beautiful writing. That's dedicating it to my grandmother. By all means, I'm not on email, Krista. So the best thing to do is if you send in whatever questions you'd like me to answer, either not not masses of them, but if you send them to the same address that you posted this comment on, and then could you include your postal address that you want me to send the answer to, and then I'll answer in the old-fashioned way. It might take a few weeks because I'm very, very busy at the moment publicising Wakenhurst, but I will answer. So thanks for that. Now we have something from Roger Watman. Oh, this is fascinating. I found this fascinating. You've been reading Dark Matter and enjoyed it. And then you've noticed certain similarities between my central character and your father, Amherst Barrow Watman, who was in charge of communications in the Oxford University Arctic expedition of 1935 to 36. I think I'm right that his nickname was Brownie Watman, because obviously I read that book and based a lot of it, used it for Dark Matter. And I didn't, in answer to your question, I didn't base the character of Jack on your father, not the character. I mean, I agree, your father's character comes across as really nice in the book, perhaps a bit too nice for Jack. Jack was very much my own, the character in my head, but certainly, and I think there's a wonderful picture of your father operating the bicycle generator. I haven't got a picture to show you because I was looking at that book in the British Library, but I remember the photo very well. And yes, absolutely. And I put the screenwriter who's written the screenplay for the film, which we hope will come out. I put her onto that book because it's a marvelous book. So how wonderful that you got in touch. Thank you so much for that. That's very touching, and I hope I did the expedition justice. And so that's the adult books. Now we've got some. Yes, we're moving on to Chronicles, and this is a lovely one from someone who's been a fan of Chronicles for a very long time, and still your favourite piece of literature. Thank you. And Shauna has had a beautiful tattoo. Can we see the tattoo? Oh, I think we can. Look at that. That's the image from Ghost Hunter. Isn't it gorgeous? It really looks spectacular, Shauna. And you said, yes, you're looking forward to getting your hands on Wakenhurst, as I know you never disappoint. Yikes. Well, I hope I don't this time. But thank you for that. Danielle now. Yes, this is a straightforward question. You have 2 EAL children. I think that's English as an alternative language or something. And we're studying Wolf Brother. Where can I get copies in Portuguese of the book in the UK? I don't know about that, Danielle. The only foreign language bookshop in London I know, I think closed, but you'd have to Google it. I mean, I know I've got a Portuguese copy of Wolf Brother. It's a sort of, this is the one I do. You probably can't. Yes, can you just see? There's a huge bear in the high up in the trees. You can see it. Oh, good. My elf has just told me that you can actually see it. This is the sort of the second one, Spirit Walker, and the third one with a wonderful polar bear. So yeah, I think Googling is the way forward on that one, Danielle. Good luck. Sorry, I can't be more help. We've got a couple about films. Yes, first read the Chronicles of Ancient Darkness when I was younger. I was wondering if at some point there's going to be a movie or set of movies. And then the other one is saying, is there going to be a movie under development by Feel Films? The answer to Feel Films is no. We did have something for a while, but then that's not being progressed. As regards a movie, I can't make any announcements yet, but it's looking promising. So all I can say is that if there's anything really to announce, you will see it on my website. Then we've got another one which is fairly sort of a voice from my past, from Elizabeth Pinder Ashenden. I won't read the whole thing, but Elizabeth was at school with my older sister, and I remember her very well. And I met her at a school reunion, and she has been, among other things, an ethnoarchaeologist. So that's absolutely fascinating, obviously, because my book's all about the past. And she's also now a school governor at a rather challenging school in Derby, and she's asking me whether I could do an event or something. Well, Elizabeth, the answer to that is not this year, because I'm very busy. I will be very busy writing and also mainly publicising Wakenhurst. But maybe next year I will be doing more children's books, publicising maybe, and then we'll see. So I'll keep your details. Then we've got something from Keenan again. Oh yes, what is Torak's birthday? That's a nice simple one. Well, I think it's in Outcast. He has a pretty miserable birthday, doesn't he, when he's been outcast? I'd actually enjoyed writing that quite a lot. Sorry, Torak. And it's Midsummer's Night. That's when he was born. In the UK, that's 24th of June. So it's about 24th of June. That's his birthday. Yeah. So we're quite specific about that one. I had to look it up, though, just to make quite sure. And hello, Emilia. We've got, I think Emilia is a bit of a regular. As she says, I look forward to these every month, like little rays of sunshine on a cloudy day. Thank you for that, Emilia. And you've got some interesting little questions here. What eventually happened to the Nanwak after Wolf joined the mountain pack? Well, only the world spirit knows that one. Now, this is an interesting one. Once a clan leader dies, who replaces them? Do they choose before death? Does someone get to vote? Or does it pass on to a family member? It doesn't pass on to a family member because hunter-gatherers tend to be quite democratic in a way. It's not about inheritance. Inheritance isn't a big deal for them. It's much more about who's the best person to lead. And I think, I didn't have time to look it up, but I know that somewhere in one of the books, Finkedin says, you chose me as your leader because, I think it might even be an outcast. I didn't have time to look it up. So it's a question of choice. And I suppose if someone's ends up being a bad leader, they can unchoose them, deselect them. Number 3, this is... I'm getting a question from my elf, drawing attention to something. Thank you, because although I'm aware of these things flashing up, I can't obviously talk and read at the same time. Have I ever tried writing short stories, Robin? Yes, I have. I had to write a couple. Well, I did in the very early years to just for publicity. When I published a couple of historical novels, they said, and I wrote one which wasn't bad. It was a sort of modern story with a twist at the end, and then I wrote another one which was, I thought, terrible. I'm not a natural short story writer. I love reading them, but when I was learning to write, I thought, well, why on earth? It'd be a lot easier, a lot quicker to write short stories and then see if you can get them published. But I'm a novel writer, so I couldn't. So it was a much longer way round. Great question. And I admire people who can write short stories, but I'm not terribly good at it. Amelia is also asking, if there was to be a Wolf Brother film, would you want the actors to speak with an English or a Norwegian accent or something else? I definitely wouldn't want a Norwegian accent. I think that would seem odd. I would just want them to speak normal, what I regard as normal English, unaccented English. Maybe with some of the other clans, they could have different accents because, they're different clans. But I think Torak and Ren and Finkedin should just be speaking English, really. Not American. Sorry, American guys, but I'm English. So it depends on what you hear. Oh, and lastly, do you have any tips for someone applying for a literary agent? Well, I don't know how old you are, Amelia, but unless you're sort of really sure of yourself, I wouldn't try to apply for a while. Just, give yourself a break, just enjoy the writing. But if you are keen to find out, I would go for either online or actually get in the library, something like the Writer's Handbook. This just shows how out of date. I don't need one because I've had the same agent for 20 years. But it sort of lists agents and also publishers in the UK and what kind of books they publish and how they want submissions to be made. But don't rush it, just enjoy your writing for the moment, I think. Where are we now? Yes, Edward. I've just finished. Oh yes, Edward's been reading quite a... I'm getting another question. Oh, someone on YouTube has just said, thank you for your books and the magic you spread all around you. Isn't that lovely? Thank you for that. And Maya says on YouTube, I think your books are the best ones that have ever been written. Well, how wonderful. Thank you for that. Now we'll come to Edward and his question. I've just finished the Chronicles of Ancient Darkness and Gods and Warriors. Wow, you have been mainlining my books. I was wondering if there's going to be another series, say in another era. This is the final question. Another series, say in another era, and if not in another era, will you extend one of the series that I mentioned? Well, there's not going to be another era that I'm going to tackle. I think, I haven't got any plans at the moment. I love the Bronze Age, the Gods and Warriors, and I really love the Stone Age. So I won't be sort of saying, oh, right now I'm going to do medieval times or something like that. I'm going to be a bit cagey. I can tell you that I'm in the middle of another book, writing another book for younger readers. That is, children and or older people, but who just like reading my books for younger readers. That's all I can tell you at the moment, I'm afraid. It's partly because I'd get into trouble with my publishers if I spilled the beans now, but mainly because when I'm actually writing a book, I don't like to talk about it, because then you can lose the particular magic that you're trying to create. All I will say is that I'm really, really deeply in it, to the extent that I was snarling to my agent just before coming on about all the other things I've got to do. And I said, look, I know, I'm sounding cross, but sometimes I have to be like a she-wolf and just, I have to be like a she-wolf and defend my story. So I will, I'm being told something else now. Enzo says, I think we've had Enzo before. Enzo says, I love your books. And Stefano says, hi. So I'm getting all these voices in my ears from the magic elves. But thank you for that one, Edward, to end on. Yes, I mean, and I've said before with I do get questions, and it's lovely to hear from you that you would like to have sequel to, Chronicles of Ancient Darkness or Gods and Warriors. And that sort of thing really does help me, because it encourages me to know that there's a people who want these books. And that's fed into the story I'm writing now, and the one that I think is going to be really quite good. So having burbled about, rather unsatisfyingly for you, I'm afraid, about a future book that I'm writing, you won't be able to find out about it for another few months, I should think. I think we've got to the end of the questions now, and that's really all I've got time for. But thank you for putting in some really interesting questions and comments. Do keep them coming. Go to my website, michellepaver.com, click on Ask, fill in the form, and then I will answer in the next Michelle Paver Live, which will be towards the end of February. We've got a date and I can't remember what it is. You can also keep up to date with me on Twitter at Michelle Paver and here on Facebook. And that's about it. Until next time, goodbye and happy reading.